ready for the next mission.
There you go, Jacob.
If you choose
always.
Mission,
sometimes I'm not. Usually.
if you don't accept this mission, it will self-destruct in 3, 2. How are you, Agent Ross?
I'm well.
We're gonna need you to go into Berlin for a special mission this morning, virtually, with Tweedy.
Well, if Tweedy can make it, I can.
Isn't it funny how a little wardrobe helps the energy? It's not even for the audience. The jacket takeoff was to bring back the childhood wardrobe energy for us today.
Yep, I get that. Well, my wife planning on the in May. There's like a school event, and it's like a theme. And she's like, "Hey, we're gonna do a drag. It's like a racing event. We're gonna do a drag race. So us and some friends are all gonna go for dressed in drag, and it just sounds like a fun, different thing to do. And the most
in drag wardrobe in a drag race car.
Basically watching horse racing, but recorded. And like, well, the most I've gone, with my girls, we'll do silly stuff, but I think it'd be the first time I've actually worn, I would say like real drag versus just like random stuff like Halloween or playing make-believe here in the house.
Dude, go full out.
That's the idea. Makeup.
Full
Her inspiration
out.
is
scissor holes.
Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. Some like it hot.
What?
Oh, that's cut out for a bit. I was saying her.
Go on.
Let me just check my connection. I think mine's all right, but
yeah, it's not the connection. It's just me talking a lot. Unfortunately.
Yeah, fortunately. Yeah, it froze for a bit. Yeah, no, it's good. No, go back here. I was saying my wife's inspiration, she's always loved that movie, and I think it's Some Like It Hot. I know it's Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon dressed in drag to escape some gangsters. It's a funny old, I don't know if it's 60s type movie. It is a great movie, but that's our inspiration.
Love it.
Some Like It Hot. Tony Curtis.
Nice.
Do you know who that is?
Nope.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just a YouTube click away.
Yeah, exactly. Famous old movie star.
I know the Curtis, the famous short-haired female actress Curtis that played opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in, what was that movie with the motorcycle through the skyscraper?
Yeah, Truth or Lies or some Jamie Lee Curtis. That might be his daughter.
Oh, you're actually. So that you fucking knew that. That is amazing. So that's I'm 32. And for me to have seen that movie, I'm more of the Renaissance. When I was that age, who's watching all Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? I was. So I was seeing those 80 actors. Anyways.
Yep, I remember that. It's now, but yeah, good time.
Since we're not recording yet, that was a great striptease sex scene with her. That's
when he's when it's in the dark, right?
And I guess it's not a sex scene, but that there was some serious energy there. And she was short-haired. I feel like men were not used to short hair. And then you could kind of say Halle Berry rebrought the like movie star short, sexy hair opposite James Bond. And when she comes out of the ocean in the orange bikini, shaking off her short hair.
Yeah, I don't remember which movie that was. I remember that, but not which Bond it was.
Oh, that's interesting. This is what I just realized. My generations and younger generations who are on YouTube as their TV, we're even better at remembering the best scenes from movies because we watch them more often. You know what I'm saying? When we feel like watching that main scene in James Bond, we just click it on YouTube. And so it always brought people together. You could relate about a scene, but now it's even more so because they have the mashups of the best scenes, or you just want to get the energy of like
certain tidbits. Yeah, I get that. I don't know. I find it's like sometimes I didn't grow up with YouTube, and so it can be, I don't know, it's hard to get into.
Yeah. On that note, the Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite photographer, Robert Zuckerman, I've done one with him. He's in an elderly home in Florida, but from his bed, he still has, Denzel Washington, Transformers, Training Day, like all these. He was the set photographer. He's like IMDb's top 3 set photographer. So if you are interested in asking a question, what is it like? Who's Mark Wahlberg as a human working with him on set? He literally has like a picture of 50 icons that he's worked with. And he's just a totally nice guy who's now paraplegic, but we could do something in that movies, it brings everyone to get, it's like for you to be affiliated with Mark Wahlberg's name in a title of a video of you having a conversation with Robert. You know what I'm talking about? I kind of did it with Robert anyways.
Yeah, there's something interesting around like puncturing the myth of what do you call it, a thought leader or famous person, or
exactly.
Like Mark Wahlberg. He always seems like a pretty genuine, interesting guy, but he probably has bunions and butt pimples and.
We should make this a Aaron Ross talks shit about Mark Wahlberg.
He's like. He'd fall into the camp of, okay, celebrities I've heard about that seem like a pretty cool person. But, and some don't seem like a cool person. But either way, they're still going to have a lot of human-based, like random like problems and things that are like psoriasis or, I don't know, like irritable bowel syndrome or acne or a child with depression. Like everyone's got some version of that.
Totally. So I'm kind of interested in like, they clearly have some type of serious focus and energy that gets them to book these, to be these icons. So it's like, what's the magic energy? If it's for a JP Morgan executive, total focus, no need for Adderall or anything. They just love Excel. That's what it's like for Morgan Freeman, in prep, in shooting. So it's like, what do they do that we don't know about? Not that it's magic, but like, what are the habits?
I don't know. They may not have, again, there may not be like secret habits they've got that have made them successful. It might just be everyone's got unique habits. Like, I don't feel like there's anything that I've done that would be like some secret thing that I do that if I gave you the secret, you're going to be successful. Other than, what I try to do is like listen to myself towards like, what do I want to do? It may not be what, is expected, and not being afraid to kind of jump out of off like the career track and do random things. Now, I mean, I could do, I've got my own like, comfort zones and fears and doubts, and again, like getting married and having kids and adopting kids and lots of kids and having lots of kids. So I think it's just also just a willingness to be open to things and new things and things that may feel different or weird, but like, all right, yeah, let's try it. But it's not like some secret like 5-minute meditation thing where I get all my answers. Or
I think one of your secret things that you may not even be conscious of is that you're honest. It's like, I'm like you, but I didn't have this flagpole book and redeveloped a better way to predict revenue. For instance, predictable revenue probably sounded like a whole bunch of fluffy hokey lokey to the first people that you told even that title to back in the 2000s and stuff.
No, I think they always like the title. But I will say there were a lot of people who are like, oh, salespeople need to prospect for themselves. They need to, like, you can't have junior people doing this. And I mean, it's true for some businesses, but there's always those people who, through opinion, not experience, discount it and aren't open to it. And I'll be first to say, like, first of all, in the predictable revenue book, the outbound part, SDRs, is one important part, and everyone focuses on the outbound side. But the more transformative idea is actually the idea of specializing salespeople, with more salespeople doing more jobs, working together like a sports team, and that has been far more transformative than just outbound. I think and I think it's still a guide, a thing that needs to be doubled down on in the pandemic and the future. And they're two separate ideas. Because again, before predictable revenue, and so even Salesforce, I'm not the one to create the idea of specialized salespeople or SDRs. They've been around for decades. Appointment setters. I just took it to a new level, but it still was like the conventional idea of salespeople need to do all their own prospecting to kind of like eat what they hunt or hunt what I don't remember, and they need to do that because I did it, and that's the only way they need to do it. No, that's not true. That's
still alive and well in
sure.
Mortgage banking and real estate finance industries. It's crazy. Or just like, to get in to be a broker of a real estate building, the pitch in the interview is, hey, are you willing to eat bread and cheese for 2 years? I did it with 3 kids, and let me tell you, it was not fun. But once 2 years in, I got my first deal. Well, how much did you make, executive? $6,000. But that got me in the door. And in a year, I finally owned. Okay, so you tortured yourself for 5 years. It's like, I commend you. It might not be crypto for me, but it's something more seamless than that.
Yeah, well, okay, and they're not wrong where a lot of the craft, the development of the craft can take years and years. So it may not be, I think in some industries, okay, it makes sense for those independent agents to have to do their own prospecting. And like, for some people, they love vanilla ice cream and that's the right flavor. And others, the right flavor is chocolate. Or so like, I'll be the first to say, hey, separating prospectors and closers it's not a one size fit all. It's about focus and adapting to having the right people, the right focus. But in a separate idea or topic is, look, if you think there's some sort of magical leap that you can take, or pill you can take, or bullet you can shoot that kind of gets you 5 years of expertise within a few months, that's just people selling you. That's like Tim Ferriss saying, oh, you can learn a language in 3 weeks. There's the 4-hour work week wasn't ever about like, oh, you can, there's some magical leap that you can make within a few weeks to become super successful. I mean, hacks and things, but they have their place, but they're not a replacement. Like vitamins have their place, but it's not a replacement for food. So again, there's this balance on everyone. It's like finding your rhythm and your harmony. And again, if it's 5 years for something you feel is important, like creating content, takes years to develop a craft and an expertise and a confidence and a rhythm. This whole years thing, you this instant results, desire for, oh, I saw someone else. Especially you're surrounded by stories of, oh, someone started a podcast in 9 months, they got to XYZ. Or there's always those stories, but they rarely tell the whole picture of the 5 years that led up to that moment. And there's enough. I'm sure that there have been cases where I can't remember the guy, or like a waitress in a cafe or waiter who is put into a movie and overnight becomes a success. Okay, I'm sure that has happened. It's gonna be so rare. People have won the lottery.
Yeah, I was just thinking that those scratch.
Have I ever met anyone who's had that experience? Not that I know of or can think of in my 50 years.
Multiple people that have won a scratch off ticket. Still.
Yeah. For how much?
These are against you. Yeah. Okay. Switching flows. Aaron, what are you going through on just a human rhythm today since we've last talked to you? What's on your content free flow mind that you just want to blah blah about?
Yeah, well, there's two things. There's what I'm going through personally is different than the content thing I'm thinking about today. Honestly, personally, I feel like in a pretty good flow. So that is not often the case. A lot of times there's a lot of like challenges, anxieties I'm juggling with, like my teenager. Like last night I was texting my 17-year-old teenager who's in California struggling with school. And so, there's that. But, the thing I'm thinking about today is really more, I think, relevant, interesting, which is, and I can't remember if stop me if we've talked about this, this corporate shell game around everyone kind of working to look a certain way to other people. And yet it's almost like in Tinder, I'm just guessing, but dating, people are like first date, I want to put my best foot forward and look a certain way. And, at some point in a real relationship that kind of stops over a couple of years, the corporate world, it doesn't really stop. It's always like, you need to put your best your best foot forward, CEO to investors, or CEO to their team reports, and their executives to their reports, and the reports to the salespeople, and the salespeople to the customers. And it's this huge like dance that's just this game that people go around and around in, always looking a certain way, and everyone's kind of, it's not lying to each other, it's projecting to each other, as if, well, my CEO, if I really thought about it, he has his own fears, uncertainty, doubts, anxieties. Whatever he's projecting, he does, and I do. We're the same. So why are we pretending like we don't have this? It's like this whole game. It's just like a huge waste of time and energy, up and down, from the investors to even to the public markets. But like, it's just this huge game. And the thing is, I don't really have an answer to it other than first seeing, wow, there's this huge just shell game going on. And then like one thing that can help is how can I start to let down this load of feeling like I need to project a persona that's not fully me, and even be a little more open and honest. And I think it helps starting from the top, the CEO, which is where, again, I think about a lot of my messaging and the content towards like executive CEOs, not because that's the only people I care about, because if they set an example, it's more likely for their teams to ripple down to their teams. And, they're exhausted and tired, overwhelmed, and anxious. And CEOs, especially a lonely job, because they don't feel like anyone else, like, lack of peers. And I know if you haven't been a CEO, it's like, oh, wow, be CEO, be so glamorous and try to like raise money or maybe manage people. And I mean, you end up there, and at some point, the grind can get you down. And a lot of CEOs, not all, it can be an emotionally taxing, heavy job, that responsibility. And so again, it's just different problems. Like again, you might think that's a better problem to have than being a problem of being a director and being VP. As you go up, you get more responsibility. So it's, I don't know, like you say, it's a better problem to have too much money and to know what to do. Like, what do I do with this, and how do I do my kids and their inheritance, versus not having enough to like pay the bills, but still a problem.
Two things, if you align your content with what you want to just in a long-term way pass on to future generations in the digital internet, then the content is going to be good. If you're thinking about it long-term, or even just what your grandkids are going to be viewing, and that you exist. It's not like just, it's an asset for them, for you to teach them, and everything you speak is something that you would teach your grandkid in a way. And the second thing is, from the CEO's perspective, there isn't right now maybe so much incentive, but at a certain point, there is going to be an incentive. And at a basic sense, when you exist on the internet with content that doesn't polarize people, that's their one job, to make it not polarizing as best as they can. But it shoots out, bat signals. If an employer, a CEO could see their tweet, could see their content on LinkedIn, and years later put them in the running for a super competitive job because they followed them for 2 years, maybe unfollowed them when they got political, but then remembered their name 7 years later when they thought they it's about, so that's the most basic thing of why they should. Right now, there's a lot of things that you could mess up if you do a wrong post for SEO. Why the heck would they? But I like that
Yeah, it's going to change.
In a year or two. This isn't you thinking right now. No, it's like, so.
It's where things, well, yeah, the CEOs creating content about themselves and executives doing that about themselves that is the future. It's kind of the present. It's maybe pretty small, still very small, but it's an inevitability. I got all the symbols, syllables. Inevitability. The executives are going to have to create content about themselves and not repost. Here's 5 steps to have a good meeting, kinds of like LinkedIn stuff. But yeah, about who they are, what they're dealing with, and what they've learned, what they would advise on, and just content about themselves, so that people can get a feeling for who they are, what they stand for, whether they're going to be a recruit to the company or on the team, customer. That is going to be a must-have, not a nice-to-have, like it is today.
I think it's more prevalent in our SaaS sales enablement industry, which is, I think, a secret reason of why it is a unicorn billion-dollar industry, because we're kind of showing the other industries. It's trickling. Okay, real estate, finance. I'm starting to see banking podcasts on LinkedIn. Yes, they look dull, and I would not want to listen to one, but so there's something special about the SaaS industry in that we're real. And then we have super real gurus like you, an author.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say the SaaS industry is real. I think it attracts people who want to do interesting things in a big way, whether it's kind of ego-based or for fun, or whether they're fake or real. It's just like there's a lot of like fake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more of like an innovators industry. It doesn't make it better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah. It's definitely a tidal wave we're all surfing.
Yeah, because now it's drawing in everyone, like crypto, everyone who wants to get on the big money bandwagon